All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Full Send Off Road Podcast. I'm here with Brian, Mister Side by Side We Ride. Man, I got to meet you in person. We've talked a little bit on the phone, and we talked a little bit in text messages and stuff. But I actually got to meet you at the South Texas Showdown in Hallettsville. You came out, you took a lot of video, and man, we do appreciate you coming out and checking it out. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
Hey, I appreciate it. First, I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. Really cool. Nobody ever interviews me. I'm usually interviewing them. So, a little bit different feel here. A little bit about us. I mean, I started off-roading 30 years ago. Back then, nobody really cared. I mean, you just went to a field that you knew was empty and you off-roaded, or your buddy had some family property and you'd off-road there. Now that it's a different day of age, that is no longer allowed. You go ripping through somebody's field, and back then you just had to worry about maybe some rock salt getting shot at you. But nowadays it's a whole different story. You'll get prosecuted to the fullest extent.
I know all about that peppered tailgate.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's something we didn't want to get into. So now that times changed, trying to find off-road locations, I found it to be extremely hard. So I started doing research and making a list, and then I thought, why not put that online for the people at home to easily find off-road parks? Then people started essentially emailing, Facebooking me, hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? We were already creating videos for ourselves. So I started making videos. People wanted to know where the events were. So we started an events calendar. And it just kind of blew up from there. We started doing reviews and attending all the events and trying to help support the sport. And it really blew up from there, man. We've only been going about 2 years, and here we are.
Yeah, when I found y'all's website, and I happened to just come across it on Facebook one day, and I was like, "Hey, let me check this out." And I found the events calendar, and man, I tell you what, the fact that you guys cover nationwide events it's not just here in Texas. You're covering everything, and that's awesome. And when we found it, we started just telling people, hey, if you're looking for an event, instead of me sitting here listing it, it's online. Go check out these guys. So, like, we appreciated ourselves having something like that because I'm like you, I've been wheeling for years, and unless you knew of a certain spot, you, it was good luck. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, where it's all BLM land and public land, and if you didn't know those trails, you weren't wheeling. So, moving down here, it's been a little different with the private property thing, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. Even though Texas is, the largest state in the lower 48, it is very limited in this area. And I live in central Texas. So, if you've ever been to Texas, the state is huge. To get out of Texas, it's 10 hours for me to hit El Paso. I can get up to Oklahoma probably in about four. Louisiana's probably 5, 6 hours at least. So it's hard to get to those other states that aren't just tons of public land, like Arkansas, Arizona, California. I mean, they have BLM properties that you get a sticker, and we can get a sticker here in Texas, but it goes to essentially three parks: Escondido, Barnwell, and I think Sam Houston, but you have to be 50 inches and under there. And I honestly don't know anybody riding a trail, side by side personally. So it makes it hard for us. So to have those different listings right at your fingertips just makes it easy. We have all the off-road parks in the state. We've done the research. We have all the restrictions at those locations. We got the Google pin drop, so you can essentially map out how far these parks are from you. And we got a lot of interesting things coming in the pipeline for the website to make it easier and more interactive with our followers. So we're real excited about that.
Well, that's awesome. Uh, well, we just went over the website and everything, but tell us a little bit about your four wheeling background. Like you said, you've been doing it for 30 years. Have you always been four wheelers and side by sides, or?
No, actually, I'm old, I guess I'll say. You can see the gray in my beard. So there were not four wheelers or side by sides when I was a kid. I started out on dirt bikes and three wheelers. They were death traps, and my back got messed up probably when I was 12 by getting a three wheeler rolled on me. But that's part of the game, and that's maybe why we love it.
Hmm.
The adrenaline and the possibility of, man, I might jack myself up doing it. But I started out in Florida, dirt bikes, four wheeler or three wheelers, and then swamp buggies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, but it's like a mud truck with a platform on top. It's it's almost like a pontoon boat on a mud truck. So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
flat
I've seen
deck.
those.
So yep, yep. So in Florida, they're real big because it's a lot of swamp area. So essentially, you can ride through the swamps, and we used to hog hunt when I was a kid through the swamps on those. So you kept your dogs and and your rifle, and you just cruised around till you scared up some hogs and went to town on them. So that's how I grew up. And moving to Texas, it was a totally different scene. Um, Being in Central Texas, it's more rock crawling. Um, so I actually enjoy that more. I don't want to spend all weekend washing my machine after, I just rode. So I enjoy the rock crawling, a little bit of dust, man. I can just pressure wash it. It's gone real quick, and I'm done with that. So it's a different area out here. It's not quite what I'm used to and what I grew up around, but it's something I've really gotten into.
Yeah, so as far as rock crawling goes, I grew up rock crawling, doing Jeeps, stuff like that. Um, I see, I got to see your machine, and that's a Pro R.
No, that is actually a Pro XP with a long travel kit.
Ah, okay. So being in Central Texas, I'm gonna say you probably go hit up Hidden Falls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how does it work out at Hidden Falls? Like I've been there, and at the time I had a Talon with a two-seater Talon with 31s, and I had a lot of Jeep guys going, I can't believe you're following us right now. But a lot of the machines up there that I see are stock. So
They do have a big range of trails from, mild to wild, like everybody says. So there's a lot that kids can go on four wheelers, just basic stock machines. I took mine out there when it was stock. That was actually the first place I off-roaded it when I got it. It was still on the 30 carnivores that came with it. I didn't go up everything at that point just because the clearance wasn't there. And honestly, you spend that kind of money and you're not trying to roll it in the first couple trips.
I'm
Um,
not trying to roll it now.
yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I'm probably more timid now because, when you put $2,000 aftermarket doors on and a $6,000 cage, and you think about a rollover and having to replace those types of things, it is definitely not something you want to slap into the budget after you already spent that.
Right. Trust me, I totally understand that because I'm in the process of figuring out if I'm buying a cage or building a cage. So that's one of those deals. I've already done the chop thing, but I got a buddy who's itching to build a cage, so I'm on the fence on that still.
Well,
But
there's a lot of pre-made cages that you can get that save you a lot of money. They ship easier. Your buddy can weld it together if he's a decent welder. I would check his welds, but there's definitely ways to get around it and kind of make sure that it's going to be right. But that's up to you, man. I mean, I just went ABF right off the bat. I've seen just dozens and dozens of different cage manufacturers. And I seen one of their cage, and they do like a roll form on the top, and they roll over the edges. The quality of their cages are just amazing, and I just had to have one. Granted, they are not the cheapest, but I've seen some people roll their machines with it, and they still look impeccable. And I just wanted that nice detail. This is essentially a rolling billboard for us, something that we highlight our sponsors on and our company. And we just wanted to make sure it looked really good with top quality stuff.
right. Well, see, and I'm doing the same thing. I don't know if you were able to look at the Talon. We had it setting up over by the stage. That's what I'm working on with mine is, got the full wrap on it like y'all did, and trying to really highlight why we're out riding. Hey, check us out. And that's one of the things I'm missing is that cage. Like it just seems like it's missing that link And I've been checking out the thumper cages, and those ones I really like the way they look. But ABF is right up there too, so I'm on the fence.
Yeah. Yeah. Thumper Fab makes a lot of good quality products. They're also Texas based. So, you got to love those Texas companies if you live here in Texas. I know me and you are both transplants, but man, there's something about Texas that just rings in home after you've lived here a few years.
I've been here for over 15 years, and I absolutely love it. Uh, and that's one thing you brought up. Thumper being here in Texas. They're a 5 hour, 5.5, 6 hour drive for me. But if I can save that little bit of money on shipping, I'll go pick it up.
Oh yeah, I've seen quotes in the 1 to 2,000 range to ship a cage. So ABF is in Crowley or Cleburne, one of them. So they're in just south of Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Oh, okay.
So for us to go grab that cage was a few hours. Um, so $100 in gas compared to $1 or $2,000 in shipping was a no-brainer there too. So
Right, right, right. So, do you have anything else coming up? I mean, I know you said something. You got a few things coming down the pipeline, but y'all going on any rides or got anything going on this summer?
yeah, we usually try to ride at least once a month, whether it's, going to an event like STX Showdown or, Spring Hoedown, UTV Invasion. We'll probably be up there. That's still a few months away in October, but we do something every month. The TX4 Cross Country Racing Series, we kind of frequent that really often because it is so, I want to say, local within an hour or two of me. So I can shoot out to those on just a Saturday and come home, which is what I did at the Mud Buddies event. We drove out there. Now, granted, it was 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. when I got home, and we were whooped. And my wife was like, "We should have got a hotel." So I won't live that one down for a while. And next time I talk to her about a day trip, she's like, let me really think this out. When's the last event go? You book that hotel. I know I'll hear that. So
Well,
those
I
are
know
some of the ones that were,
the drag racing went a little bit longer than I think was anticipated.
yeah. Yeah, that was 7 to 10:30. And by the time you pack up and say bye to everybody and get the details, man, it's 11, 12 o'clock by the time you hit the road. And it was almost 3 hours for us. So, yeah. So we plan to hit up some events. A lot of them, like TX4, is what I was going to say, is they took a pause essentially. They don't race in the summer just because it's so hot. People are overheating out there. So they'll kick back off in September. So we're probably going to hit up mostly just riding for us right now until we can find some events that we can attend. We got a guy that goes to Rednecks with Paychecks every year. So, that's not in the near future, but, you asked about our plans and we try to attend as many events to just help them out as we can.
Yeah, now I attend Rednecks with Paychecks. Bruce and I, that's kind of our yearly trip in September. We go to Rednecks with Paychecks every year, but that's more of a decompress, have a good time. We're not really out working or doing anything like that. But if we happen to get some interviews while we're there, we do. But we really enjoy it. I know uh, Battle of the Builds is in July. At the end of July, they're doing that event at Sabine. So I mean, if y'all ain't busy, you could head up to Sabine.
Give me 1 second. I don't know if you can hear it. My dog found his squeaky toy and he will not let up.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We'll go ahead and take this time to thank our sponsors. Uh, so 361 Racing, don't mess with Texas. Visit them on their Facebook page at Side by Side Drag Racing. Dale's Fun Center, giving family fun for over 40 years. Visit dalesfuncenter.com. KB Longhorn Welding LLC, visit them on Facebook at KB Longhorn Welding. And Trashy Inc., not just a brand, it's a lifestyle. Make sure to go visit them and buy some merch at trashyinc.life.
Nice.
Did you get that squeaky toy taken care of?
Yeah, my wife bought him a new one on the way home and he is in heaven right now, but I usually pop him because I cannot stand that squeaking. And he's a German Shepherd and he is just like, man,
Oh
he
yeah.
goes fanatical.
He's going until he kills it.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yep.
he won't kill it. It's a Kong one, so it's just gonna annoy the crap out of me for a while.
Yep. Yep. I totally understand that. So, what brought you to Texas?
Essentially family. I moved here when I was 16, so I've been here a long time. I did join the army, and so I was off in Kentucky and New Mexico and Tennessee area for a while. But came back to Texas, loved it. I actually moved my wife here. We went to the same elementary, middle, high school together. Reconnected on Facebook 15 years ago, and I actually moved her here from Florida, and she loves Texas. She'll never move back. So uh, yeah, I'd have to say family, and then Texas just kept me here, man. I've lived other places, but always made my way back now.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed is like my kids were born here. My wife's from here. She's actually from Shiner. Uh, when I moved here, everybody that I met, they're like, you don't sound like you're from Texas, but you fit in too well. And I'm like, okay. And then come to find out, my dad's family's from around Dripping Springs, so I'm like, well, I
Nice.
guess I was supposed to be here.
That's what it sounds like.
So I absolutely love it. I can't imagine living anywhere else. So I thoroughly enjoy this. Um, so you mentioned you're more into the rock crawling. You're not. I mean, nobody likes cleaning. Let's be honest. But do you just not like the mud, or is it something that you're just not interested in? Or
I Yeah, I probably don't like the mud. I mean, of all the riding, mud is my least favorite. I'm going to be honest. I love sand dunes. Sand dunes is probably my favorite, but they're just not close enough. Um, I have to drive 8 hours to get to Little Sahara, and we go up there a couple times a year, and I will shred the sand dunes like nobody's business. And my wife, she hates it. She's not a roller coaster person. If you've ever been to the dunes, it's kind of like a nonstop roller coaster, but you're in control. So it's just up the sides, jumping. I mean, your stomach's dropping. And we do a lot of night riding, so it's a little sketchier because you just don't know what's over that next crest. So I love it though. It really gives you a big adrenaline rush. She won't even go. She's like, come back when it's dinner time and I'll have dinner ready for you and the guys, which is great. I love that. Um, and she really prefers rock crawling, and I don't mind it. It's just slower paced. Um, it's like trail ride to a pretty sketchy spot, sit there and watch 10, 15 people go up it. And it's fun. I mean, it is challenging, but it's not like a constant adrenaline rush. You pull up to some of these obstacles and it's like, do I want to try that? Where when you're doing and you're following a group of people and it's like, don't be a pussy, man. Like you got to hit that, just go, So it's a different setup, and a different feel in those different environments.
right, and I come from mechanical background, of course. So seeing the different types of machines, like your machine, for instance, I didn't take a real close look at it, but just seeing it when you rolled by and whatnot like that, I'm like, yeah, that's a trail rig for us. For us, that's a trail rig. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's not going to go the places that we go because it doesn't have a huge lift. It doesn't have big tires and you don't have portals. But it looked so comfortable. I'm not going to lie. It looked so comfortable.
It is, man. We have a full MTS setup. They're one of our sponsors, and we went through a couple different companies that we've played with, and we know a lot of people in the industry, and they've ran other stuff, but it just was everybody was seeming to go to MTS now. They do a lot of research. They actually owned my machine, not technically this machine, but they own this platform, a Pro XP on a long travel kit, and they did tons of testing. So I knew that their personal machines were this, and they fine tuned it to like just a beautiful piece of craftsmanship the way that they created their revalving and their dual rate spring kit. So we did their springs first, and that really helped with a lot of the body roll because this machine just felt like it was kind of tippy. um, and especially when it was the 64-inch before we added the ORB long travel, it just off camber stuff, especially rock con, I'm like, man, is this thing gonna roll? Like it just felt like it was. It never did, but it felt sketchy. And then we did the revalving on the shocks, and I mean, I couldn't even believe it. we got in and we started cruising crossbar, and I don't know if you've been out there, but it's a lot of rock. So it's just it feels like you're driving down cobblestone roads, it's just that rough. And it just ate it all up. It was just smooth. I could actually film inside the machine because it wasn't just blah 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 blah, everything bouncing around in there. And so it just made a huge difference in it. So it is riding really smooth. And it's comfortable. We have an actual gear reduction in our transmission. We got the 54-12-12, which is really good for rock crawling. That's why we added it. It also helps us with drag racing because we're able to get up to speed a little bit faster because our gearing's higher. Um, so I wouldn't say it wouldn't go where you guys could go. Now, granted, you sat much higher than us, but we can fit 37-inch tires, and I can slap some mutters on it. I'm sure I'm going to get through some of that stuff, but
Well,
don't
that's
stick
all
me
I'm
in the
running.
mud bog.
Yeah,
It'll be
that's all I'm running. I'm running 37s. I'm happy with my 37s. I call mine
we'll
an
see.
aggressive trail rig. It's an aggressive trail rig.
There you
Um,
go.
I so all my everybody, Bruce, Aaron, all my friends, they all call me Captain Go Around because we'll cruise down the trails. And don't get me wrong, I'll go through some of the holes, but like they'll drop off into the hole and they'll sit there and tear it up. And they're like, "You gonna follow?" And I'm like, "You guys are on 42s and you just wallered it out." Nope, I'm going around. I I don't like breaking. What can I say?
I don't either, man. I'd rather ride all weekend than break on the, first or second day. I want to keep going. I'll hit
I've,
some sketchy stuff, but
I've had
definitely
those
nothing that I think
friends.
I'll break.
I've had those friends that break straight off the trailer.
Yep.
So I drive 2+ hours most of the time to some of these events or some of these rides. I'm not gonna sit there and break and turn around and go home.
Yeah.
So, and I have a 4-seater, so when you break in your 2-seater, you can hop right in.
And talking about hidden falls and breaking, you had asked about the trails there. When I had a more stock machine, I may have had the long travel in the 32s on it at that time, but we tried to jump a 3 to 4 foot ledge, and essentially I just gunned it too much trying to walk the front tires up. And when they came off the ground and touched back down, it essentially turned my drive shaft into a pretzel. Luckily, that's one of the only things that I've broken on the machine, and we ride it hard. But I replaced it, beefed it up with everything. I've really strengthened the machine, so hopefully we don't have any of those issues. And knock on wood, we haven't. So,
Right on, right on. Well, I mean, it's a beautiful machine. So,
thank you.
see, especially when y'all pulled up out there at Mud Buddies, I saw y'all roll in and I was like, wow, they showed up. Like I wasn't sure if y'all were going to show up. And then the contrast of y'all's machine compared to what we're used to, which is the big mud machines, beat up, nasty, or the complete show machine. So it was a nice contrast to see y'all roll in, and I'm like, that's a clean looking machine.
I appreciate it. I try to keep it clean. It is not a show machine, although I wish it was. We do still take it out. I mean, if you look closely at the wrap on the sides, it's definitely dragged some rocks. I should have put some rock sliders on before I took her out. And then from the sand dunes, the sand will actually start pelting the powder coating and taking it off because you're doing 60, 70 miles an hour and it's like sandblasting it as you're driving.
Right.
So there's definitely some imperfections in the powder coating on the trailing arms and the A arms. If you get up close, you can see it. Uh, I try to keep her pretty, but that's part of the game. She's not going to stay like that.
Well, and that I did the powder coating, the wrap, and everything on mine, and first trip out, bounced it off a tree, tore the wrap up a little bit. Some of the powder coating where you bolted it on, just you know, tends to scratch a little bit, stuff like that. So, and I'm like, well, I ride, so I'm not mad. I don't like it, but I'm not mad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the exact reaction we had. It's like, did I just really scrape that rock on the first trip? And we go look, and it's like, well, it's character.
Yep. Hey, and nobody can say it's a trailer princess. Princess.
Nope, definitely not. So
So, y'all came out to STX. How did y'all like it? Like, honest opinions. We're trying to make things better.
I really like that event. I like the way you had it set up with two separate tracks for the mud racing. You know, you had the small tire track, and then you had the medium tire, I guess is what you guys called it, because you didn't technically have a large tire. Great setup. You know, it gives something for everybody to watch. You know, people were able to line up on both sides, so it was really good for the spectators. And you guys let me on the course. So, hey, I love that because I can get better footage. I'm definitely not a video editor, I am a contractor by trade. So, filming and editing is not 100% my forte. We have actually hired a video editor. So if you wondered why my videos have gotten good, it's because I don't do them anymore, you know. But I'm still learning the actual angles and the way to set up the camera. So let me on. Really appreciate that. So I just wanted to say that again. I know I've reached out to you since the event and thanked you, but you know that really makes a big difference in us actually capturing the footage. The crowd seemed to love it. You guys were very organized. I mean, racers were at the line quickly. I've sat at some events and it's like, is the guy coming? I mean, you know, it's 20 minutes between people. Y'all banged it out, which keeps the spectators there and involved. So that was very good. I think you guys ran a hell of a show.
Yeah, that was one thing that we kind of really wanted to focus on. You know, now granted I wasn't involved in a lot of the background stuff, but being the announcer, it's kind of like that's my job. My job is to keep the crowd entertained, keep everybody engaged. And then announce the racers, announce the times and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, I wasn't in a lot of the background stuff, but at the same time I was. So to get feedback that, hey, you know, everything looked like it was running good, it was running fast is a big help to us to know, all right, we don't need to change that or we just need to work on it a little bit. So I know we're talking about doing another event, but nothing's been announced as far as that's concerned. We're really happy with the way this one turned out. Um, so hopefully we're going to do it again next year. This was only in round 2 for us. This is the second time that we've been involved with this. So it's a blast. It's fun. And then of course seeing y'all come out and film and whatnot. That's why I was like, hey, if you want to get on the course, by all means. I know you're trying to get footage and really put it out there. It helps us. So
Yeah.
we do appreciate y'all coming out and filming and doing that stuff.
Yeah. I know you touched on you announcing. Man, you knew the people. You know, you could tell you've been in it. You were calling people out. Oh, he's going to want to be yada yada. You know, I mean, you can tell you're passionate about it. Knowing the people also gets the crowd involved because they know some of those people. You know, so you're calling their friends out. It's not just like line up. You know, and somebody's telling X car to line up. You could tell it was real personable, and that you guys were passionate about it, which was evident in the actual show.
Great. I really appreciate it. Um, that's what we're looking for is feedback on the whole event, just to try to make it better. So, getting feedback is a great thing for us. Uh, and I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, even coming out and filming. And y'all got to do a little bit of riding also.
Yep.
I got to see you running around with Chase out there with the bug and the hilarious.
Yep, yep. His hilarious 200. So that's a pretty unique machine. We went out and did a little bit of riding with him twice that day. He happened to be going out the same times I was going out. I'm like, hey, can I get in with you guys and just run some GoPros? So we went trying to find some rock crawling stuff because he's got his machine's a little more set up for that. And, you know, mine is. So we didn't really get into any of the mud that most people were in the creeks and stuff. We did drive down in the creek, but nothing thick. And we were the go around guys. You know, we seen a big mud hole and we went around it. But we found some places to rock crawl and kind of get a little frisky, I guess we'd call it. You know, a little more sporty riding out on the backside. So we did a little bit of that and had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah, Mud Buddies is a smaller park, but it's a park that you could go for the day and enjoy yourself, and it's very friendly. So that's my home park. That's the park that we frequent a lot, and that's why we've done what we have with trying to get events and trying to get more people out there to put a spotlight on it. Oh, excuse me, that is the only park around here. So
Yeah.
to really keep it going and put a spotlight on it, and we've seen an uptick on uh the amount of attendance over the past year and a half has just steadily grown almost every weekend. I know next weekend or this weekend coming up, there's a benefit ride going on, or memorial, sorry, not a benefit ride, a memorial ride going on. And like that's a big ride for a lot of people around here. It was a friend that you like to go out there all the time, and they continue going every year. So I think this is the ninth annual memorial ride that they're doing out there for that. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's gotten better every year as far as attendance. So uh it's keeping it on the map. And my understanding is that park has been around for a long time. It was here before I came to Texas. It's just swapped owners a few times, but it's something I want to keep going. I want to see people coming out and enjoying it. And it is a smaller park, but it's fun.
Yeah, Dustin Couch, he's one of our ambassadors. So he's a big drag racer in the stock class. Uh, Pretty much used to win every event for the last few years until kind of Roberta came up and built her machine. But he grew up in that area, and he's like, man, I've been going there since pretty much he was a kid, like 20 something years, you know. So it's definitely gotten a lot of history in that area. I thought it was only open for weekends, but then everybody's like, "No, man," or events, and people said it was open every weekend. So we loved it. I mean, being able to go sit in the creek and just hang out and sit in the cool water, because this is Texas, man. 100+ degree days. You want to go hide under some trees, and if you can get in some water, that's a great
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah.
So we plan to go back down there soon and do a day ride. And we're going to take a couple of our four wheelers because we don't have a lot of places around here that you could ride them. And my wife loves getting on the four wheelers, and we bring some friends, and everybody's got something to drive. So we want to get out there and kind of check it out and hit more of the trails. We only went through a little bit because I had to keep shooting back for filming purposes. So we got a little bit of trail riding in, but there was still a lot of stuff we didn't explore. And for 400 acres, it's well set up.
Well, and that's just it. If y'all do decide to make a day trip out there or whatever, give me a holler. I'm only an hour and a half away. And that's me stopping in town and getting fuel and stuff like that. So, it wouldn't be nothing for me to throw the three-wheeler on the trailer, or throw the Honda on and head on out there to visit with y'all and show you all around. Like I said, I know
Nice.
that park like the back of my hand, so I'm pretty sure I can drive it blindfolded. Like I'm pretty sure I could drive it blindfolded. And there's plenty of places to go around. There's plenty of places to chill in the creek and cool off. And then, if you're into sport bikes, they have a racetrack. They have an MX
Nice.
track. They allow dirt bikes. They allow a race quads and stuff out there. So, and that's one of the parks that still allow that. A lot of your bigger
Yeah.
parks have cut back on the sport quads and the dirt bikes. So, it's something that we really enjoy, and we don't mind the dirt bikes and stuff out there because, like I said, they have their own track, and the trails are maintained enough to where you can ride a dirt bike around and get along just fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that'll be a great experience for you because you'll be able to call somebody else Captain Go Around because I'll be going around all them big mud holes.
Yeah, I'll cruise through and be like, yes, I'm not the only one.
You'll hit the big hole and you'll be radioing me, hey, you coming? And I'll be like, the hell I am, man.
That's all right. You can just film everything. Film everything.
That's right, man. So I'll get the good footage. That's what you got to do. I'm like, no, I'm gonna sit over here and set up cameras real quick. You do that.
No, like I said, it's a good little park. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's our little park, and we like it. So, well, Brian, I do appreciate you being on. You want to tell everybody where they can find you at and socials?
Yeah, we're SXSWERIDE.com online for essentially our website and TikTok, and then we're also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's SXS We Ride. I don't know if it's going to show my name on there or show our logo, but
Hey, I'm gonna attempt. Like I said, editing's not my forte either, so I'm gonna attempt.
Alex Sticks logo here.
Yeah, right.
Check website here. here.
Yeah, try to do the whole, like, share, subscribe. Yeah.
There you go.
We're once again, I'm not real great with it, but I'm learning. And talking to you, I've learned quite a bit just from that conversation that we had a couple weeks ago, and I'm really looking at possibly getting at least somebody to show me a little bit more before I dive into paying somebody to do the editing and stuff like that. But it's I thought this was gonna be easy. I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna start a podcast. This is gonna be fun." Yeah. There's a lot more work into this, and you don't realize how much time it takes to do content.
People don't. They think you just throw all these videos together, but I'm running usually 3 or 4 cameras. And like we talked about with the drag racing event, that was 3.5 hours. So if you're running 4 cameras for 3.5 hours, I'm pushing a good 12 to 15 hours worth of footage for the one drag racing video. Now I have to condense that down. Luckily, I don't have to condense that down anymore. I have a guy for that who actually knows what he's doing and he makes pretty quick work of it. But I did it for the first year and almost 2 years. Uh, and it was hard. And it was a lot of 2, 3 o'clock in the morning nights where I have a full time job, so I'm up doing that all night. Um, my wife would get up to go to the bathroom, and be like, "Why aren't you in bed yet?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm trying to finish." It's hard to stop in the middle because then you gotta feel like you restart everything.
Mhm.
So it's a job, man, and eventually you'll get there. It's a process. Uh, and if you ever need any questions answered or just want to ping some ideas off somebody, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm always here.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate it, and we're working on trying to get some things rolling. We've been trying to get our merchandise out, to really try to support the podcast, maybe get things a little bit better. Silverback Garage, of course, one of the major sponsors that's been helping us out. Uh, they built that studio that we use. Now I'm not in it today for the simple fact of we're doing a one-on-one. So now if we were doing it in the studio, that's good. That when I get people to start coming to the studio, that's when it's really going to be fun.
Yeah,
Because it's a little easier to feed off of each other face to face.
yeah,
But it's, yeah, like you said, it's a job. It's just editing the videos that I get, and I'm not running multiple cameras like you are. I'm normally running one. I might get pictures on my phone, but for the most part, I'm running my GoPro. Uh, it's a lot of work. And I did not realize how much it was until I started doing it. And like you said, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, my wife does the same thing. She's like, "Are you gonna come to bed?" And I'm like, "I'm almost done editing." And then I'm like, "I'm not even close to being done editing."
exactly.
So
So
it's fun though. I'm enjoying it. It's taking a lot of learning. It's a huge learning curve, especially when you don't mess with it as much as I would like to.
yeah. Well, we have regular jobs and you do it once a week or twice a week, and you're essentially retraining yourself because it's not a continuous thing that you do on a daily basis all day. For me, it was like, how did I do that background last time? Or how did I do
Hmm.
that fade or put that text on? Then I'm watching a YouTube video trying to retrain myself the next week on something I did last week. And it was just a
And then you're gonna
fiasco.
forget it
So,
again the week after.
exactly. So,
Well,
it
Brian,
makes it interesting.
yeah. Well, Brian, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. Once again, it's SXSWERIDE.com. And
Yes,
then
sir.
if they need to get a hold of you directly or want to send you an email directly, what's the best way to contact you?
They can either message us directly through Facebook. We also have a contact us section on our website. We got an about us section, all sorts of stuff on there. A little background on how we got started, which we kind of touched on earlier today. And we really appreciate everybody's support. We've actually had hundreds of thousands view our website. We reach millions of people on Facebook every month. I just got a notice from Google, which a lot of people don't know this, but when I actually found the places, if they didn't have a Google pin drop, especially like a lot of the Arizona, California BLM lands, there wasn't, they'd show you where it is on the BLM website, but there was nothing in Google. So I actually went around and put like XYZ OHV staging area and put a pin drop there. And then Google had to accept it. And I must have added 100 of those across the nation. We just got a notice that over 7 million people have viewed our Google listings that we've added for the pin drops. So people don't know that, but when they type in OHV, anywhere in the US, if it comes up, it might have been me that put it in there. So just gave them another way. And we don't get anything from this. We just did it to help the community. And it's great when I wake up in the morning and Google sent me an email saying that 7 million people in less than 2 years. And I only put half of them in. I had a girl, a data entry girl who helped us put in probably the other half. So she's probably getting alerts saying she's had 5, 6, 7 million people view her. So who knows? We could be definitely in 10, 15 million range just on people clicking on Google pin drops that we created so they could easily find these locations.
And that's awesome. And that's what I really do appreciate what y'all are doing is we all know with the pandemic that more people got out and started riding. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a side effect of it. You couldn't do anything else. Go out and camp, go out and ride, go out and fish, go out and do outdoor stuff. And I really do appreciate that people are figuring out that this isn't just, for the lack of a better term, a bunch of hillbillies or rednecks out playing around. This is a sport.
Yeah.
And I want to see it grow as a sport because it is, like you said, we've got the drag racing, we've got the rock crawling, you've got the TX4 racing, you've got dirt bikes. Like everybody knows supercross and stuff like that, but there's a whole nother level of racing out there that nobody sees. You have trials, you have trail riding, and it's endurance racing. I don't know if you've ever sat and watched some of the endurance side by side racing and stuff.
Yep.
That is just, I don't know how some people do it, to be honest.
Yeah, we attended the side by side 12-hour race 2 years in a row up in that was in St. Joe. That was actually at the Rednecks with Paychecks property. And we sponsored one of the teams that were in it, and it's brutal. I mean, they can swap out 2 to 3 drivers, but to keep your machine running 12 hours straight, I mean, those guys most of them came in with a flat tire. The MRT tires, gotta give a shout out to them. The guys that ran those had really good success, but most everybody was coming in. People were asking to borrow tires because they went through, 2 sets of tires they flattened. A arms just folded over. Then they're doing trailside, well, not trailside, but in the pits, they'd be doing repairs and trying to get their machines back up. I think 50, almost 50 machines started that race, and it was like less than 12 at the end. I mean, it was just that hard on the machines. So it's real interesting, and King of Hammers, I mean, that one gets a lot of publicity, but there's a lot of other really great events that just don't get the publicity. And we try to post those on and feature them in our videos and on our events calendar just to help grow these small venues. If they can get, like STX, if they can get enough people, then they can start doing more per year. And they get sponsors that are going to follow them. Like Evo came down and had their big machines. I mean, I don't know if you've seen them run, but they're riding wheelies down the track. I mean, they were running 3.4, 3.5 seconds. They were ripping. These are a lot of money in these machines, and people put a lot of time into it. And for us
Yeah,
to come out and support them is just really good.
and that's one thing that I try to explain to people. Like where I work, like I said, where I'm not far from Mud Buddies Hallettsville, where we put on STX. Uh, there's a lot of guys that I work with that they know of Rangers, they know of Defenders, and they know of side by sides. But when I show them pictures and show them video, especially your video, which was a great highlight reel, I mean, really, it was uh, of the event, and they're like, how big are those tires on that four wheeler? Well, those four wheelers are running 50-inch tires. They're running 46-inch tires. They're running nitrous. They're skimming
Yeah.
an entire mud pit in 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you see the drag cars, and they're like, "That's a side by side," and it's like, "Yeah, you guys don't realize like these people. I can't do it. I'm gonna be honest. I can't do it. I don't have the money to do it, but it's a passion, and you don't
Yeah.
you don't build those types of machines without having the passion for it."
Yeah, and it's just like with car guys, you got guys out there that just love cars and they put all their money into it. And you see a really nice Mustang or a nice hopped up truck or whatever. It's the same thing, but just in a different hobby, in a different lifestyle. And I don't know how many people I've exposed to it that have either bought a machine or some kind of off road. Maybe they couldn't get in a side by side, but then they went and bought a four wheeler and they go out riding. Yeah, it's a really wholesome activity, and not everybody, like you said, is a hillbilly, redneck, or drunk. A lot of us are business owners and want to go out and spend time with their family. We ride with a lot of executives and different stuff. You'll see attorneys out there that are tatted up, and seeing him at the mud park, you're like, he could be a biker, he could be a welder, and then you find out he's an attorney. So you just don't know who you're going to run into out there, and it's a really good time, a great place to meet people, and we enjoy it. We just want to grow the sport as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's one thing I thoroughly enjoy about this. Like, I grew up with trucks and Jeeps and stuff like that, which growing up, I did it as being younger. My brother drove, and I'd be a passenger. I cut my teeth in the mountains up in Washington, but I also cut my teeth as the winch guy, the spotter. Like, I spent a lot of time getting in and out, in and out, in and out, which you don't see that much with the type of riding that we do now. But rock crawling, it is very typical.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but to be able to take my family with me, and like, when we go on a big ride, and it's all of us, just a group of people, we're not filming, we're not doing an event or anything like that. I can tell you right now that it's 90% families, and
Yeah.
that's what I enjoy. It's moms and dads with their kids. It's husbands with their sons, taking them out and riding and enjoying the outdoors.
And people say in the video, you need to be more personable and get in there more. And it's like, you forget, you get lost in the moment. You're just out there having fun with friends and family. And, I don't think about whipping out my phone, being like, hey guys, we're out here at yada yada. It's
Mhm.
just not something that you think about. So I know I try to be more interactive in the videos now. Um, but it's definitely not second nature to me yet, and I'm just out there having a good time like everybody else, and making videos while I do it. Hopefully, they're not all shit videos. But yeah, you just never know, man.
No, and like I said, we do appreciate everything you're doing for the sport and for the community. It is something that, like I said, once I found y'all online, I was like, this is awesome. This is spectacular, because I somebody's doing it. Because you try to do a Google search of mud parks or riding areas in Texas, and you get, what, maybe a handful.
Yeah.
You've actually introduced me, just from your website, you've introduced me to more parks. I had no clue about Barnwell Mountain. Not an idea. I thought it was somewhere in Arkansas. Like, I didn't know it was here in Texas. I knew about the handful, Extreme, Hidden Falls, Sabine, River Run. Like, that was it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's TX4 did one. I think it was TX4. TX4 did one at Bushholtz last
Yeah,
year.
Buckholz, Texas. It's
Buckholtz.
actually Let's Ride Ranch. That's probably about an hour and 15 from us. It's about the same size as Mud Buddies, a little bit different terrain. There's not really much mud. They do have a couple of little mud bogs that they created. It's got some trails through some trees, and then a lot of open pasture. That was actually the first park I took my wife in, that she drove the machine. And the funny part is, I was ripping around this field and doing about 60, and she's like, you need to slow down. And then I put her in the driver's seat, and then she's doing 65, and I'm like pointing at the speedometer, and she's like, what, it feels good, like it's different when you're the passenger.
Absolutely.
um, but it's a great park to bring the family and the friends out especially if they're not big on riding and you want to let them drive your machine. There's nothing out there that's gonna catch them off guard or be too difficult for them. So that's a really cool one. They allow dirt bikes, they allow four wheelers, things like that. And TX4 hits a lot of those types of places. They also do Domo, which is a fairly new one. They just acquired more property to expand their off-roading area, so they're probably in the 400-ish range. They actually do have a little bit of rock crawl, a little bit of hills, lots of trails because TX4 comes in and cuts these trails for their racing, and then they have open areas. So there's a lot of little parks people just don't know about that are probably a lot closer to their house and would be great to just expose your friends to this type of adventure.
And where's that one at?
That one's in Gatesville, which is a little bit southwest of Waco,
Oh, okay.
like
I
Temple.
didn't even know about it. That's why when you said it, I was like, "Where's that one at?"
Yep. GSL Ranch is another prime example. It's in Candalia, which is kind of northwest of San Antonio. A lot of people don't know about that one. It's got a little bit of rock and a little bit of trails, and it's a smaller park as well. But there are a lot of like 400, 500, 900-acre parks that people don't go to. And the unfortunate part is because not enough people go to them, they may shut down eventually. Where, hey, you can shoot over there for a day trip and not have to haul your machine 4 hours away. You can just go over there and have a good day out there, bring you a little picnic basket or whatever. I felt like Yogi Bear when I said that, but bring you bring you a picnic basket out and eat with your friends and family out on the trail and just have a good time and support those local parks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't know anything about them, so those. I like to pride myself on going to new parks. It's something that I try to do every year is pick two or three new parks, and we
Yeah.
try to hit them. We don't always get to hit them, but we try to. So finding new parks that we can go check out and have a good time and tell people the same thing you're doing is go check these things out. Like, don't reserve yourself to one or two parks. Take the trip, make a day out of it, take a weekend, go camping.
Personally, I get bored going to the same park over and over. It's like, oh, we're going to hit that trail again. I've done that one 30 times. Nobody wants to watch me hit Hidden Falls. Even though it's my local park and it's an hour away, I can go ride it every weekend and make a video. But guys don't want to hit me see or watch me hit the same 10 obstacles every video. So we try to mix it up. We try to go to new places. We've been up into Red River, New Mexico. I highly recommend that for anybody who wants a beautiful ride with the family. I mean, we were up at virtually 12,000 feet and just crystal clear, beautiful lakes out there. And there was a gold mountain was right next to us when we were at Goose Lake. And it was like a mountain when we were already on top of a mountain. So you're like looking up and it makes you feel so small in the world when you see those types of sights. And that was probably my favorite trip. There wasn't a lot of real technical riding or anything. It was, I mean, we've seen G wagons and stuff going up these trails. It's like they're in $150,000 G wagon, like they're going up the mountain trail. They were scratching the crap out of their machine, but it's nothing that's too technical. You could do it in a stock Ranger. So the families can go out there in their crew Ranger and do this. I mean, they just have probably 50, 100 miles worth of trails that you could just explore and the most beautiful scenery you could imagine. I mean, just being up there, the town's really cute. It's hidden in the southern Rocky Mountains and it's inside of a valley. The temperature, I mean, we had snow and we were there in August or October, maybe. I mean, it was early for snow, but it snowed when we were there, and we had a place that had a fireplace, so that was beautiful. Me and my wife really enjoyed that trip, so y'all
Oh,
can
that
check that video
sounds
out, and,
awesome.
and I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
sounds
great
awesome.
trip, man.
Yeah, and that's I've got a few bucket lists. For me, personally, I've got a few bucket lists. I haven't done Moab yet. I want to do Moab. I've always wanted to do that. Moab was one of those like growing up wheeling Jeeps and Broncos. Like you want to take your trucks, and then now in side by sides, I'm like, I want to take my side by side.
Yeah.
I can make an adjustment. It'll work. I know it'll work.
Yeah.
And then I want to do the Rubicon. I really want to do, throw pack out the back seat, go disappear for 3 days on the Rubicon.
Yeah.
And then I want to go back where I grew up, where I cut my teeth riding, and take the side by sides up there and go hit those old trails because
A lot of
those
good riding up there.
well, up in Washington where I grew up, up in the LB Hills wheeling, it's they do a deal now that's called King of LB every year, and I grew up doing trucks, and all my friends were running Toyotas and Jeeps, and everything ran exoskeletons because you bounced off of trees.
Yeah.
Like it's gnarly trails. It's not, hey, I'm just gonna go cruise. No, there's one called the Busy Wild it takes some work. And I want to take the machines up there and go try it out. We were supposed to go this year. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but we'll make it up there. But I have some bucket list trips that I want to do, and they're gonna happen. It's just a matter of when.
I got the same, man. I mean, like I said, we've been into Colorado, but we haven't been to like Taylor Park. So that's one of the ones we want to hit. We just love the mountains. I don't know if it's because I grew up in Florida and everything's flat, but there's something about being in the mountains that's just a whole different feeling, and we love it. So I want to do Taylor Park, Moab, on my bucket list. I've been watching people off road there since I was a little kid. I remember Fisher's ATV. I don't know if you ever watched that when you
Uh
were a
huh.
kid, but
Yep.
he always rode four wheelers back then. But I just loved that show, and I used to tune in every Sunday and watch it at 9 a.m. I think it was, and he was always up in Utah doing Moab, but I think he called it the Paiute Trail or something like
Mm-hmm.
that back then, and it was just somewhere I was like, man, one day I'm going to ride there, you know. I still haven't been. I've been invited on a few of the trips, but like I said, to get out of Texas, it's like a
It's
full day
it's
drive for me.
it's a haul.
You too. So
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm a little
it's like
farther
okay,
south.
I need. Yeah, yeah. So when you got to dedicate 2 to 3 days just to drive there with your machine, and then you want to do some riding, and then you need to drive back 2 to 3 days, it's hard to dedicate all your vacation of the year to one trip, because we're trying to do so much. And then Windrock, we want to get up to La Follette, Tennessee area where I don't want to give too much away, but we'll probably be going. I think you've seen me post on our thing. Hey, we're looking about going up into Northeast Tennessee. Post your ideas. And we had a bunch of people, and we appreciate them interacting and giving us recommendations. But there's Brimstone, there's Windrock, there's Ride Royal Blue, Tackett Creek. I mean, there's like six huge. And when I say huge, these are like 100,000 plus acres of riding. Um, you could just get lost for days, and we want to check that out for sure.
Yeah, Aaron got to go to Windrock a few years back for the Wildcat weekend.
No,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, and he's like, I want to go again. It's a blast. I want to do the Hatfield and McCoy trails. I've had a couple friends go, and they spent a week in Virginia doing that, and they said it is beautiful. It's relaxing. They had an absolute blast.
yeah,
And I've got family back east, but my personal concerns are we don't have small buggies, and
yeah,
you know, you I know back east a lot of everything is geared towards the stock machines. So I'm like,
yeah.
do I make the trip and then not be able to ride, or so? But Windrock is one of those that I would also like to go do. Of course, I want to go to Florida and ride too. So
There's some good mud parks down there. So,
there's one Mud Puppy is one of the guys that I follow on YouTube and stuff like that, and that he rides Florida, and man, I'm like, man, I just want to go down there and check out some of those parks because they look gnarly sometimes.
oh yeah, yeah, just huge mud pits, and people are just sending it into it, just one after another, getting stuck. Once in a while, you see a guy actually make it through. I know Asta Cruiser went down there and took his Sherp, and finally made it through some of those mud holes that other people were just getting stuck. And I remember it as a kid, just going out in the woods and getting stuck in that. I mean, it is a swampland.
Hmm.
So lots of good off-roading there. A lot of good memories from my childhood. Luckily, I was in top of a mud buggy, which was, like a platform on a monster truck. So I didn't really have to get stuck in the mud usually. It actually did really well out there where we used to go hunting and stuff. But it was a lot of fun as a kid. Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, man, I don't want all my gear. I'm carrying, a few $1,000s in camera equipment with us. I don't stick it in its case every time. I'm like, just throw it in the back and let's go to the next part. I could see me doing that and then hitting a mud hole. And I'm like, oh, there went a camera. These aren't GoPros that we always run, although we do run some GoPros, but we also have, high def 4K cameras that we bring out there. Let's just say I'm not the most gentle with it and not always putting it in its hard case so it doesn't get damaged. So I could see me probably messing them up out there.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, no.
Well, all right, Brian. You know, once again, I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to do this. This is something, we discussed it before we started recording, but this is something that I'm tossing around the idea and thinking I might do as an in between instead of doing the podcast every week. As far as me, Bruce, and Aaron, uh, focus on having great content for the podcast when we do them, and then do some smaller stuff like this with the interviews. I had an interview with Anthony Sanders a few weeks back, and we got a lot of good feedback off of that one. So that kind of gave me the idea of doing this a more one-on-one. Let's talk to the creators. Let's talk to the racers. Uh, Alan Booty, talk to him. He wants to redeem himself because his audio wasn't that great last time. So I already told him, I was like, well, figure out your computer and you'll be all right. So I
It's a
do
process.
appreciate, yeah, I do appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us. And you know, wish you the best as far as, making the website even better. And your videos are getting better and better by the day. I enjoy watching them. The one from STX, or the two from STX. I see them on my feed almost daily now because all my friends are starting to share them. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and I want to thank you for having us on to talk with you. Something I haven't told anybody, so we'll do like a kind of a release. Is we're looking at expanding the website, so it's not just a list. Eventually, we want to make it more interactive for the user. So hopefully, an app you can type in maybe just your current location, and it's going to give you a list of all the parks around you and how far each one is from you. Um, Hopefully add some filters in there. So if you're looking for mud, you click mud and it's going to filter it to mud parks or ones that have mud. It might not just be specifically mud, but we're trying to make it more user friendly. And we're in chats with developers now that will be able to create that to where it's an interactive Google map essentially for the followers. Same thing with the events. Like you said at the beginning, we have events from around the nation. Well, it's kind of sucks. I know to people message me all the time. Hey, is there one going on? And BFE Montana right now this weekend? I'm like, dude, I don't know. We put thousands of events online. You just got to look. I
Right.
can't remember them all. So eventually we want to be able to maybe do by state where people can filter it, state, zip code, proximity, or certain dates, or what type of event. As we put an event in, we'll click if it's drag racing and mud bounty like STX in South Texas, or put the zip code in, and people will be able to filter what they're looking for to make it easier to find what you're actually online looking for. So you're not just sitting there for hours. Although I love when you guys sit on there for hours looking through every page, it helps us, let me tell you. But we want to
Uh,
make it easy for everybody.
I've had it open the entire time.
I appreciate it.
So, like I said, once again, yeah, and I'm looking forward to that, especially if it's interactive. I've sat here and I've scrolled through it for hours, going through because I didn't realize you had that many events. Like when I first found it, I was like, oh, they got a few events on there, and then I'm like, it's still going. There's more and more, and I made the mistake of, like, I started to list them on one of the podcasts, and I was like, I gotta stop. I can't. There's no way I can list all of them.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we try to promote y'all, is you're doing something that nobody's done to the extents that you have. So that's what I appreciate about it. And if you're still trying to develop even more, and especially to do an app, that would be spectacular.
I appreciate it. I spent about 3 to 6 months before we launched it just collecting data. And it was a lot of nights that I really just didn't get any sleep. I was just up till 3 or 4. I was like OCD about it and just in depth with a spreadsheet of creating all this stuff and trying to get it right. I'm not, like I said, I'm construction. I'm not a website guy. I actually had to call GoDaddy because you're only allowed. I used a GoDaddy template to make it. I mean, I had a guy who builds websites contact me and be like, "Hey, who built your website?" I'm like, "I did." He's like, "Do you have an experience?" I'm like, "None." He's like, "Man, you did a great job." But they only allow you like 12 pages. I actually had to call GoDaddy and they made an exception for me and gave me 100 pages because I'm like, man, I'm trying to do 50 states here, plus other pages. So they actually made an exception for me and expanded what I could use in their system just so that I could actually accomplish my goal. So shout out to GoDaddy. I'm not a web designer. I'm not a web builder. They helped me out, got it up there. I don't get no money from them. They'll probably never watch this too, but I figured I'd say that it was really helpful.
Yeah, as we see the nice green razor say GoDaddy.com behind you.
I wish. If
That was
only it was that
that,
simple.
right. Yeah, and that's another thing too is we're still breaking ground, you and I both, because I noticed you started a podcast yourself. You've had a couple of guests already, and we're still kind of breaking ground in the off-road world. So
Yeah.
it is slow.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bump into your market, just so you know. I am not a
Ah,
podcast guy. But I was trying to kind of like you're doing. I want to expose more to the people. So we had Hunter Owens on so that he could talk about his event. He was doing he does 2 events a year, the spring hoedown and the Fall Hootenanny at Crossbar. Really great events. The guy is out there from dawn to dusk working his butt off, just like you guys are when you're at your events. His is 3 days long. I mean, I just saw the guy just running everywhere. I felt horrible for him and tried to pitch in where I could because he was just run ragged by the end of the 3, 4 days he was out there. And the Fishers, they showed up there for the drag racing, and we helped them get the tree and everything set up because they brought their same tree that they used at the STX showdown. So we had him on. We had Julie Woody. I think you're probably familiar with her. We had
mhm.
Randy Alicia. We had Megan Ryan on. We wanted to expose the women. So we were trying to show that, hey, this isn't just a man sport. There's a lot of ladies out here that actually off road and enjoy it and are successful competing as well with the men. So,
Speaking of which, interrupt real quick. Megan Ryan took
yep,
first place in the bounty hole at Gregory Lake this weekend. So shout out to
yes, she
her.
did.
So
Yeah,
I'm
Megan's
glad you
awesome.
brought that up. So
Yep, yep. Megan's a beast, man. And her diamond dust machine, man, she has really dialed that thing in. I mean, normally when you put a side by side up against, I mean, when you think about it, it's 1,000 cc side by side up against 1,000 cc four wheeler. They're the same size motor, but the weight difference is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Um, and she can keep up with a lot of those machines. She's beating a lot of them, or really kind of neck and neck with some of those four wheelers that are running out there. So it just goes to show she's got her machine dialed in, and when it's running right, she is dominating the competition.
and that's I've got a picture from Battle of the Builds a couple of years ago, last year. Yeah, last year finals. I do believe it was finals last year. I've got a picture. She won the big air competition that race. And she's better part of 8 feet in the air.
Yeah,
So like I try to explain to people when they're like, "Well, what's it like being beside him?" And it's like, it, it's a monster truck. I mean, it's a monster truck. That's the best way to explain it. When you have no idea what it is, that's the best way to explain it. I've got a
yeah,
picture of my kids sitting on the rail of Bodacious XL, and people
yeah.
not realize they're 73-inch tires, and it's like, you guys don't realize these are big machines, and then they're like, well, how does it push it? And it's like, it's gear reduction. It's these
Yeah.
things are not somebody didn't just go, I'm putting big tires on it. Like there's some special engineering into making these things do what they do.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, used to be just a 15% gear reduction in a portal. Now they're 60 plus, you know.
Hmm.
And then we're also doing transmission gear reduction. So it's just one on top of the other just to get enough to spin those tires. And I mean, it's not just to spin them, but go burn them up and just take off. I mean, and with like Megan's machine, it's a Polaris. It runs on a rubber band. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not a Talon or whatever. It doesn't have an actual transmission with shifting. To get these machines to run properly is a lot of fine tuning and just guesswork. I mean, I don't want to say guesswork, but it's trial and error. That's a better word for it. You just have to develop it, try it out. If it don't work, go back to the drawing board, beef it up, make it better, whatever it takes. But it's cool to see the sport going that way, and people like Megan and Randy and all them. Julie's got a turbocharged Pro R that's a beast. She was beating the Speed UTV El Diablo, with the speed key. They were drag racing, and she was just whooping on that thing with
Nice.
48-inch tires, mud boggers. I mean, she was beating up on a stock, speed UTV with the speed key, which is supposedly 300 plus horsepower. So it just goes to show that a proper build will perform extremely well and also compete well. And it's good to see the ladies in there kicking some butt.
Well, and I'm glad you said that a proper build. We saw it firsthand at STX. In the small tire, two of your winners out of your top three were kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You don't have to have the biggest machine to win.
No.
Because against the PATV guys in the medium tire was right there with them a Can-Am that was on 32s. The guy who
Chad.
won, yep, the guy who won the small tire said, "You know what? I'm going to enter the medium tire because I think I can do it," and ended up placing. So
Yep.
that it's all in how you build your machine and building it for what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And he dominated over there at the Spring Hoedown as well. I mean, he won first place in that one, and he went up against names like Mike LaFleur. They had Gladiator out there, or is it High Horse? I can't remember which one they're racing now.
High Horse
Is
is
it
the blue
Gladiator?
one. Yeah.
Okay, it was High Horse.
Gladiator. Yeah. Allen sold Gladiator. Gladiator is now Frankenstein 2.0.
Okay,
Ran by Josh Seal. So
all right.
yeah, it's yeah, Gladiator was last year's. It's gone. But High Horse is the one Randy runs, the blue one. And that's another thing is Triage Garage. They have built some awesome machines.
Yeah.
So, everybody sees High Horse from of course the show Mud Madness. That's the one Randy's been running. Uh
Yep.
and that's a prime example of it's how you build it. And you don't have to do the same thing everybody else is doing. Not everybody's running the same thing. There's guys running Can-Ams, there's guys running Polarises. There was a guy running a KRX for a long time. Like
Hmm.
it's taking the time and like you said, trial and error, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
So I
Oh.
mean, I'm waiting for somebody to run the Honda Talon. It's not gonna be me, but I'm patiently waiting for somebody to do it. I mean, if somebody wants to sponsor me and pay for it, then yeah, I'll do it. But I
Right.
unfortunately I don't have that sitting in my back pocket to do that, but I would like to. Well, Brian, I'll let you get back to your afternoon. Once again, we do appreciate you being on here. I know every time we say that, we end up getting into another conversation. So,
Right on. Well, I
well, you have
appreciate
a
it, bud.
yes, sir. You have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll get you back on here one day and try to get you on here with the goons with the others, and we can joke around and BS a little more.
Sounds good, man.
All
I
right,
appreciate it. Y'all have a great one.
yes, sir. Thank you.